Hey, what's up, guys? This is Evilinger from GamerVets.com, and got some gameplay from Team Deathmatch on the PS4 on the map Warhawk, using the Remington with silencer and red dot. I think that was a game. That was a gun that was recommended by a friend of mine, and actually, it's pretty good. I like it. But anyway, enough about the gun. What I'm here to talk to you about is give you some quick tips for kind of you new or newbie Call of Duty players, especially with Call of Duty Ghosts. For your seasoned players, I wouldn't even bother listening to this, but because you already know this, or you're doing even a more advanced version than what I do. But I think for whatever reason, this Call of Duty Ghost is actually quite a lot more difficult, at least to stay alive as long as it was before. I found that this is funny. Look at this guy. So that actually leads to my. Let's just start away. That leads to my first tip: is use that mini map. So on the left-hand side, there's a mini map that tells you where kind of your players are, and whatever. And some once in a while, it pops up where the enemy is, depending if they shoot or if you have like the radar up. Now, why is that important? Because right away, I know where I am in relation to all my teammates. So based on that, I can kind of make the assumption that where the enemies may or may not be. And again, I knew they were here, and unfortunately, I was kind of done and ran out right in the open, which you probably shouldn't do. But as I said, the minimap kind of told me that they should be around that area, simply because all my teammates were behind me, and I was kind of running on my own. Another use of that minimap is what the guy who's laying right here didn't do, is that you'll notice that one of your teammates will die, and either their map will disappear, or their blue icon will disappear. And if that happens near you, you kind of know right away that the odds are that, I mean, unless the guy dashboarded or quit the game, he just got killed right there. So that should tell you right away that there is an enemy nearby. So you should be prepared for that, which that guy in the beginning of the video wasn't. So he was just laying there, and obviously he was maybe aiming down sights and just staring down the gun barrel rather than keeping awareness of the mini-map. So next up, along the lines with a map, I guess, is that simply just you should really learn the maps. That obviously comes with more and more playing, but just when you're playing, don't just run around like with your head chopped off looking for things and just jumping and not really paying attention. You really have to identify a few things in the map. The first thing would be the kind of hotspots. Hotspots meaning that for whatever reason, generally, or maybe it is by design, but every map generally has a couple of like hotspots where a lot of action takes place. Probably because the way the positioning or the way the design is, or the way that, I guess the way that you meet up with the enemy at certain choke points and so on, is that there are like these areas where there's always a lot of activity. So if you know that, you can kind of anticipate and make yourself aware of the situation and be in a more advantageous position. For example, if you know like that's one lane was a hotspot, well, then you can position yourself in a cover spot where you'll know that generally it's like be a guy running or a few guys in the area where you can ping them off and they won't be able to have really a good chance of getting you. So that way you can get in position in a certain spot and really have the one-up on the enemy, which is kind of like the goal of the entire game, is always put yourself in a position where you have the one-up on them. You want to be in an advantageous position, whether it be in cover, whether it be in a certain area where they can't see, or just there's not much of a chance for them being able to shoot you, where you have a better chance of you shooting them. So along the lines of the knowing the map areas or hotspots is also knowing the camper's position. Now, I'm not encouraging you to go and find a camp spot and lay up top, on the second floor and sit out there and just stare down a window. But by you knowing where the campers generally go, is that, again, you'll know that either that's an area that you should avoid because they always will have a better position for you, or that's an area that you'll know where they are, and also be able to get the one up on them because you'll know the spot they are and you'll be able to ping them off from a different area. I think in this case here, I actually know, see that top window? There's always a guy there, and you can ping them off from this spot. So there you go, and that's exact reason. Just by knowing that, is that I always just check there and see if there's a guy hiding, and you can ping him off. Now, along with the maps is actually, if you noticed my gameplay here, is I generally kind of circle the outside of the map. The biggest reason to do this is because the middle of maps generally are the hotspots, so you don't want to run in the middle and be pinged from like 5 or 6 different positions where you're completely out in the open and just be an open target. So by circling the map is kind of a relatively safer position. And also gives you an advantage of being able to run around and collapse into the middle if you need to. But when you're running around circling the map, you only have really one area to shoot from behind you, and you have to be aware of that, which unfortunately I didn't there. But it's a safer way to and especially also gives you a chance to learn the map a little bit as well. So you don't really need to know every nook and cranny, but by circling the map, you can kind of gauge what is where and where you can position yourself, whether it be some good spots for cover, good spots for camping spots, or good spots where you can kind of get in an area where you have the advantage of the opponent. As you can see here, leading up to my next tip is that you want to aim down sights, ADS, when you circle around corners. Simply because the game is so fast, and it's like a Twitch shooter where the 1 millisecond could mean the difference between life and death. So you want to kind of have your gun ready when you circle around a corner, just in case there's already a guy doing the same, or a guy running around the corner, and then at least you'll have the gun ready where he's running up then, and he won't have his gun ready. And again, that'll put you at an advantageous position, which is really the whole goal of the game, like I mentioned. So you not only aiming down sights, but make use of the cover. You see, there's all these barrels. There's wheels here. There's boxes, and there's a reason for them being there because they're cover positions, and just utilize that. So rather than running from open areas, you want to kind of go from cover to cover, and most of these games provide you that. Excuse me, but obviously not everyone takes advantage of that. Now, next point I want to make is that if you have it, use a headset. Now, every iteration of Call of Duty, the footsteps kind of either are a hindrance or an advantage. So in this game, kind of similar to Modern Warfare, I think Modern Warfare 2, where the footsteps make a huge difference. So you can hear them everywhere and almost directionally. So by having a headset, you can actually hear where your opponents are. And if you use the perk, I think it's Amplify, and yourself is dead silence, that even all the better. So by having a headset, you'll be able to know where your opponents are, and then actually even hear where anyone is, to give you an idea that you can position yourself to a point where you'll be able to get the jump on the opponent. Now, along with the headset, I like to use, you see here I use a silencer. I tend to use a silencers on most guns, simply because you want to make yourself not show up as much, or at least not be as most invisible to the enemy as possible. So by having a silencer, when you shoot and you kill someone, at least when you shoot them, you don't show up on the map. And that's kind of the whole point, because you want to be aware of other people who are making use of the minimap, that if you shoot a weapon that's not silenced, it's going to show up immediately, and then they're going to know that you're around. So especially in my style of gameplay, I like to circle the map, flank the opponents. Being quiet and being stealth is kind of my whole game plan. So if that's your game plan, then that's probably what you want to think about doing. If you're finding that a lot of the enemies are going to jump on you, try throwing a silencer on, maybe picking like a dead silence perk, go for a sort of more stealth type control, and just take your time, and you'll do a lot better. Now, along with wearing the headset, is actually, if you may or may not have noticed, there's a lot of chatter, and I'm not talking about chatter from other players, but just chatter from the game itself. Take note of that, because a lot of times there'll be some little audio cue or audio hint that tells you where the opponents are. For example, you hear something like, enemy by the statue, or enemy in the open, or whatever, and that actually tells you exactly there actually is an enemy right there, so it'll give you a chance to go take them out. And so just make use of that, all your surroundings. So hopefully, this comes to the end here, but hopefully this helped you out a little bit. I'll try to have some more tips and tricks as well for you. Check out our website, GamerVets.com, and if this helped you a little bit, please give us a like or a comment for some more tips. It'd be much appreciated. All right, this is Evil Inger from GamerVets.com. Talk to you later. Bye.